When I saw the email, I didn't cheer. I didn't even smile. I just leaned back, closed my eyes, and let the silence wrap around me. Because I knew, somewhere across the city, Jason Reeve, the man who stole my work and fired me, was panicking. And this time, I had the upper hand. My name is Daniel Marks. I'm 38 years old. For the last 12 years, I worked as a senior product designer at Ironglide Technologies, a mid-sized tool company based out of Austin, Texas. I wasn't famous. I wasn't flashy. But I was damn good at what I did. I built ergonomic, industrial tools that sold into millions, all under the radar. I worked late. I never took credit. I stayed loyal. Until the day that loyalty was weaponized against me. When our company got acquired by a larger firm, they brought in this new efficiency-focused VP of product, Jason Reeve. Polished, MBA background, expensive shoes, knew how to talk in boardrooms. And right from day one, he made it clear he wanted to rebrand everything. At first, he praised me, said I was the backbone of the design team, asked me to mentor the new hires, said he valued experience. But slowly, I started noticing things. Internal reports went out. My name wasn't on them. He started presenting designs I created as if they were his. Told the execs it was a collaborative effort. I shrugged it off. I had no ego. I cared about the product, not the spotlight. Then one day, I got an invite to a launch strategy meeting, except when I walked in, they were already wrapping up. Jason said, "Sorry, thought we CC'd you." But when I looked at the board, there it was. My design, my sketch, my handwritten notes, under his name. Still, I stayed quiet. I wanted to believe it was all a misunderstanding. I'd spent over a decade here, built this company's best products. There's no way they'd throw me away, right? 1 week later, I was called in for a routine conversation. HR was there. Jason was sipping coffee. And just like that, I was let go. No thank you. No severance. Just a line about cost optimization and new direction. But what Jason didn't know is that the day before I was fired, I'd made one final backup. All my sketches, every email, every version, and what came next would make sure he never forgot my name. Before all this, before the patent war, the betrayal, and the headlines, my life was simple. Focused. I used to wake up every morning at 6:15, make a black coffee, and head straight to the sketch table in my garage. Designing wasn't just my job, it was how I breathed. I wasn't rich, but I had peace. A stable job at Ironglide Technologies, a team that respected me, and a quiet, predictable life in South Austin. I'd been with the company since it was barely more than a garage operation, back when the founder, Mark Claremont, would personally test every prototype with his own hands. He was the one who gave me my break when no one else would hire a 26-year-old self-taught engineer with rough edges and zero college degree. Mark used to say, "I don't hire diplomas, I hire builders." And I was proud to be one of them. For over a decade, I poured myself into the work. I built the company's first signature product line, an ergonomic multifunction tool that eventually sold in Walmart, Home Depot, and half the tradesmen's trucks in the state. My name was never on the packaging, but I never cared. Seeing it in people's hands was enough. The company grew, and so did my reputation inside those four walls. I trained interns, mentored fresh hires, and stayed late to help the junior team polish their designs. I was never flashy. never political. I let the work speak for itself. Then, everything started to change. Mark retired, sold the company to a larger firm from Chicago. That's when the suits came in, metrics, KPIs, buzzwords. And with them came Jason Reeve. He was everything I wasn't. Young, articulate, dressed in slim-fit suits and drop-ship charisma. The board loved him. He talked about brand refresh, future-forward design language, and scalable innovation, whatever that meant. But I tried to stay optimistic. Maybe we needed a change. Maybe the company could evolve without losing its soul. At first, Jason seemed impressed by my portfolio. Called me a hidden gem. Asked if I'd be open to helping him reimagine the product strategy. I won't lie. After years of being the quiet guy in the corner, it felt good to be noticed. He even invited me to present with him in one of our early product meetings. I did the groundwork, laid out new prototype concepts, sketched by hand the layout of a toolset designed for disabled workers. He smiled the whole time. Said we were going to change the game. I believed him. But slowly, subtly, things started feeling off. He'd ask me to send over my early designs so he could incorporate them into presentations. Then I'd see those same slides in investor calls, without my name anywhere. When I brought it up, he said it was just an oversight. It's not about credit, it's about teamwork, he'd say. I swallowed it. Maybe he was right. But in my gut, something didn't feel right. Then, there was the team restructuring. He started moving junior designers directly under him, bypassing me. Told me not to worry, said he needed me focused on vision. But I noticed fewer meetings on my calendar, fewer people looping me in. And the last product cycle? The one I spent 6 months developing from scratch? Somehow, it was labeled under his name in the internal systems. When I asked our project manager, she just looked uncomfortable and changed the subject. Still, I told myself I was overthinking. That Jason was just ambitious. That maybe I was too old school. But deep down, a quiet voice had started whispering, "They're phasing you out, Daniel." And soon, I wouldn't be able to ignore it anymore. After that last presentation, things shifted, quietly, but undeniably. I'd sit in meetings where Jason would outline ideas I'd already prototyped weeks before, except now, they had new names, new file numbers, and somehow no digital trace linking back to me. I began to feel like a ghost in a building I helped build. My sketches were being stored in new folders. I'd open shared drives, only to find my files had been moved or renamed. It wasn't obvious, not at first. But there was a pattern. Every project I touched disappeared from my history. One morning, I logged into the internal design system to prep for a review. The toolset I'd spent 3 months perfecting was gone. Archived. Deleted from my access. I emailed the IT desk. They told me the project had been reassigned by executive order. No explanation. Just like that, my work was invisible. It wasn't just the files. People started acting different. I'd walk into the kitchen, and conversations would go quiet. Co-workers who used to run ideas by me were suddenly looping in Jason instead. Even the intern I'd mentored for 6 months, Erin, started avoiding eye contact. One afternoon, she stopped by my desk, hesitated like she wanted to say something, then just handed me a printed version of a design draft. My own? With Jason's name on the metadata. Still, I didn't confront anyone. Not yet. I just started paying closer attention. Jason had a habit. Every Thursday at 3 o'clock, he'd meet with his core strategy team in the upstairs conference room, the one with frosted windows and no calendar visibility. He always said it was just projections and strategy. But I started noticing things. He'd leave the meetings with mock-ups I'd never seen. He'd reference new patents in development that sounded eerily similar to ideas I'd been refining for years. One Thursday, I stayed late and watched through the stairwell as Jason packed up after the meeting. He pulled out a sketchbook from his briefcase. My sketchbook. The one I thought I lost a year ago during the office remodel. I didn't react. Didn't move. Just quietly turned away and went home. That night, I began backing everything up. Every saved email. Every design revision. Every note I'd ever scribbled down since 2012. I stored it all on an encrypted drive, just in case. I wasn't ready to take action yet. But something inside me had shifted. Then came the email that changed everything. A mass announcement. Exciting news! Ironglide will be presenting our revolutionary new design at the National Utility Expo next month. Attached was a slick PDF press kit with full specs, feature highlights, and high-res renders of a tool I'd built from scratch over the last 2 years. It had Jason's signature on the bottom. Not mine. That was the moment the silence inside me shattered. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat at the kitchen table, that press kit open in front of me, staring at the glossy render of my design, rebranded, repackaged, and stripped of everything that tied it to me. I remembered sketching that curved handle at 2 a.m. one night because my dad, who had arthritis, couldn't grip standard tools anymore. That wasn't just a feature. It was a piece of my story. And Jason had erased it with a click and a corporate smile. The next morning, I did something I hadn't done in over a decade. I called Mark Claremont, the original founder of Ironglide. We hadn't spoken since he left, but I needed to hear from someone who remembered what this place used to stand for. He picked up on the second ring. "Daniel," he said, "you don't call unless it's serious." "It is," I replied. "They're taking credit for something I built, Mark. And they're calling it innovation." He was quiet for a moment, then said, "Do you still have your original work? The proof?" "I have everything." "Then don't let them bury you," he said flatly. "You've got more integrity in your little finger than that guy has in his whole damn suit." That call, it lit something in me. Later that day, as I sat in the parking lot of Ironglide, watching through the tinted windows as Jason gave a tour to investors, I knew one thing. I was done playing nice. Back home, I pulled out the old hard drive from the back of my closet. It had every step of my design process. Timestamped sketches, emails to my team, video files of my early product testing with my dad. I opened a folder labeled Version 1.0, July 2019, and just stared at the raw drawing on the screen. They thought I'd forgotten, that I'd move on quietly. But they had no idea how carefully I documented everything I ever built. The final snap came 3 days later. I got a call from Erin, the intern I used to mentor. Her voice was shaking. "Daniel, I need to tell you something." She had just come out of a meeting where Jason bragged that the patent was practically approved, and that by the time it hit market, nobody would even remember who designed it. Then, she said something that made my skin go cold. "He said your name wasn't anywhere in the chain," she whispered. "He wiped it. Everything." I hung up. And I didn't cry. I didn't punch walls. I just sat down, opened my laptop, and opened a blank legal form on the USPTO website. It was time to stop surviving. It was time to start fighting. I spent the next week doing what Jason never expected. I disappeared and started building my case. Quietly. Precisely. like a man designing his last masterpiece. The first step was documentation. Every sketch, every version, every email, sorted, labeled, timestamped. I had backups of backups. Dozens of iterations saved from 2019 through 2022, showing the evolution of my design from concept to final render. I pulled receipts from hardware stores, emails to my dad where I'd asked him to test prototypes, and photos of my garage whiteboard from years earlier, still marked with the same grip angles Jason had now claimed as his innovation. Then I met with a patent attorney, Shelley Levinson, sharp as a blade and twice as cold. I didn't sugarcoat anything. I laid it all out. The theft, the internal silencing, the product launch, the erasure of my name. She leaned back, reviewed the documents, and said only one thing. "They're screwed." We filed an official dispute with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, attaching a 200-page document that detailed how I was the sole and original inventor. Shelley said Jason's filing was rushed and sloppy. He hadn't even bothered to change key phrasing from my early drafts. A word-for-word match on several sections. Still, I knew legal moves alone wouldn't be enough. Jason had the spotlight. The platform. He was already scheduled to speak at the National Utility Expo, an event where Iron Glide would be unveiling my product as their flagship innovation. So I took it further. I reached out to 3 former coworkers, people who had worked on earlier phases of the design. I asked them, off the record, what they remembered. All 3 confirmed I had been the sole creator. 2 even had saved emails where I'd shared raw drafts. One of them had a photo of me in the lab holding the prototype, dated and geotagged. Shelley said it was gold. Next, we filed a cease and desist against Iron Glide, barring them from using or promoting the design while the patent was under dispute. And just to tighten the noose a little more, we sent certified copies of the legal challenge to Iron Glide's board of directors and their top investors. It wasn't loud. There were no confrontations. No yelling matches in offices. Just paper. Dates. Facts. Jason had no idea what was coming. He was preparing for his big moment. The stage, the lights, the applause. And me? I was preparing the moment everything collapsed beneath him. The National Utility Expo was held at a massive convention center in Chicago. Thousands of industry professionals, press, and investors under one roof. Jason had a prime speaking slot. Iron Glide had paid for banners, booths, media interviews. And front and center on their glossy display, my design. He stood on stage, smiling, confident, polished as ever. He wore a wireless mic, waved his hands with energy, and began his keynote. "This tool represents the future of ergonomic efficiency. Designed in-house by our innovation team, it's already generating pre-orders in 32 states." I watched the live stream from my apartment, one tab open on the Iron Glide website, the other on the U.S. Patent Office dashboard. Attached was a picture of me at about 10 years old, sitting on the floor in our old living room, holding a baby wrapped in a yellow blanket. My eyes were bruised. My smile, hollow. But I was looking down at her like she was the only good thing in the world. And in that moment, everything came back. The pain. The fear. The silence. And the love. I messaged her back with one word. "Yes." She responded instantly. "I'm sorry. I know you don't know me, but I need help." We started messaging, then calling. Her voice was soft, a little shaky, a little unsure, but familiar. She told me Miranda never talked about me. Said I ran away. That I was crazy. That I hurt people. But Lila always had a feeling it wasn't true. especially lately, because things at home had started to change. Lila was 16 now, old enough to see the cracks forming in Miranda's porcelain mask. "She's angry all the time," she said. "She screams at me over dishes. Throws things if I forget to text her. Last week, she grabbed my wrist. Hard. I felt my stomach turn. That old, sick feeling. Like I was standing in the same kitchen, holding the same plate, waiting for the slap. I asked her to send me a photo. She hesitated, then said, "Please don't be mad." A few seconds later, my phone buzzed again. And there it was. A long, deep bruise just below her elbow. She had tried to hide it with makeup. Just like I used to. I was frozen. I hadn't cried in years, not really. But something broke open in my chest. Not just sadness. Not just fear. Guilt. For leaving her. Even if it wasn't my fault. Even if I was a child. I told her, "You did the right thing by messaging me," she said. "I don't want to go into foster care." That broke me again. Because I knew what that life was like. Rotating homes. Cold food. Kids who stared through you. Feeling like a ghost in someone else's house. I promised her one thing. "I won't let what happened to me happen to you." From that day forward, I started watching. Carefully. Quietly. I didn't rush in. Didn't go to the cops yet. Didn't blow it all open. Because if I knew anything, it was this. Miranda was smart. Dangerous. And she knew how to lie better than anyone. If I moved too fast, she erased the evidence. Or worse, hurt Lila beyond repair. So instead, we made a plan. I bought Lila a cheap second phone. One she could keep hidden in her closet. I told her to record everything. Every argument. Every threat. Every manipulation. Especially the ones Miranda delivered with a sweet smile. And Lila, she was brave. Too brave for a 16-year-old. She started saving voicemails. Recording audio when Miranda screamed at her for talking back. Taking pictures of the bruises before they faded. Within 2 weeks, she had enough material to make your blood run cold. There was one night. Lila called me at 2:07 a.m. I was half asleep, but when I saw the screen light up, I answered instantly. She was whispering, barely breathing. "She came into my room drunk. Said I was just like her, like you. And then she slapped me. Twice. I locked the door, and she's still outside. She's banging on it." I told her to stay calm. Keep recording. Keep the phone line open. I sat in silence, listening to Miranda's muffled voice on the other side of the wall. "Open the door, you ungrateful little freak. I gave you everything." Then a loud bang. Then nothing. I stayed on the line all night. Neither of us slept. By morning, Lila had managed to slip out and go to school like nothing happened. That was the moment I knew. This wasn't just a few bruises. This wasn't just discipline gone too far. This was the same woman. The same monster. Doing it all over again, only this time to the daughter she birthed. And the difference? This time, I was ready. It's been 15 months since the day Jason's career imploded. I now work from a small, sunlit studio in Vermont. Nothing fancy. Just a workbench, some drafting software, and a window that overlooks the woods. Every day, I design in peace. No meetings, no egos, no credit thieves in corner offices. The company that licensed my patent? They took my tool and made it even better. Sales have tripled. And they invite me onto every product call, not as an employee, but as a partner. They respect what I bring to the table. Sometimes I think back to Ironglide, to those years I spent grinding in silence, thinking loyalty meant protection, that hard work alone would shield me. It doesn't. What shields you is self-respect. What protects you is knowing your worth before someone else decides it for you. Jason never looked at me as a threat, just some quiet guy with rolled-up sleeves and ink on his hands. But that was his mistake. I wasn't loud. I wasn't flashy. But I was watching. And when the time came, I didn't swing back with fists. I signed my name on a patent. And that signature ended his empire. I don't hate Jason anymore. Because in a way, he gave me freedom. He forced me to build a life where I'm no longer disposable. No longer invisible. And maybe that's the revenge no one sees coming. Not just proving them wrong, but proving yourself right. If this story hit home, you know what to do. Like, share, subscribe, and remember, keep your receipts and never let a thief write your legacy.